Welcome everyone. Thanks for attending this session. My name is Asim Sasmal. I lead the business development for AWS IoT Analytics Services. Today with me, I have Ravi Kumar Raghunathan. Ravi is the founder and CEO of Tensor IoT, one of our advanced AWS partners. In this session, Ravi and I are going to discuss how our customers are using AWS IoT SiteWise to improve product quality in manufacturing. We will talk about common challenges we hear from our customers in the manufacturing space. We will then talk about a customer story using an AWS IoT SiteWise based solution to improve pen quality. Finally, we'll dive deep into the Smart Insights product from Tensor IoT with Ravi. Manufacturing is a low margin industry, and manufacturers are challenged to continuously innovate to do things better, faster, and cheaper to remain competitive. Like most legacy manufacturers, machines are few decades old, with much of the production data trapped in these aging machines, and customers want to make those machines smart. The common anecdotes we hear from our customers are we are fairly productive most days, but some days our operations are chaotic due to machines going down sometime. And when that happens, it takes us long to wait or to get the root cause due to our data lives in silos. However, we do track most of the essential stuff on paper and some digitally as well. The other anecdote we hear most commonly, we may have more capacity, but we have no real-time visibility of what's happening on the shop floor, such as monitoring OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, in near real time at plant line and all the way down to the machine level. Or we don't have a near real time view of inventory and supply chain. Now, as you would expect, there can be several implementation challenges, such as PLC is a 30 years old technology. Requirement is to ingest data from 300 plus protocols from 30 plus PLC manufacturers. Lots of data silos, lack of single source of truth, limited scalability of on-premises systems, and cost challenges. And like AWS, security is job zero for our customers when it comes to plant fork network or IT/OT network. Let's take a quick look how AWS IoT SiteWise can help to solve these challenges. AWS IoT SiteWise is a fully managed AWS service that provides an end-to-end managed solution experience for the processing and application of industrial data. The service makes it easy to ingest, store, organize, analyze, and monitor data from industrial equipment and machines at scale. It is meant to help customers to make better data-driven decisions to optimize operations and improve productivity and availability on the plant floor. SiteWise enables you to collect data on the plant floor from sensors, equipment, machines, or a local on-premises gateway and upload to AWS Cloud using a gateway software called AWS IoT SiteWise Connector. The connector runs on the common industrial gateway devices running AWS IoT Greengrass and reads data directly from servers and historians over the OPC UA protocol. In addition to OPC UA, SiteWise also supports MQTT data ingestion via IoT Core. Customers can also directly ingest their data into SiteWise from anywhere via REST APIs, example, batch put asset property value API included in our software development kit or SDK. Customers need a consistent representation of all their assets that can then be easily shared with users and used to build applications at a plant, across plants, or at an enterprise level globally. Using SiteWise, you can structure and organize industrial data using a rich asset modeling framework to create virtual representations of your equipment, machines, and key processes in the plant floor across all of your sites. The first step in the asset modeling process is to define an asset model. Think of asset model like a template for your asset. An asset model contains a name, description, 4 different types of asset properties, attribute, which is for comparatively static description, such as make and model of your machine, measurement, which is for storing the raw measurement coming from your machine. In this case, it's widget output and temperature in Celsius in this case. And then transform is for translating some of the measurements data, such as converting temperature in Celsius to Fahrenheit. And then finally compute metrics or KPIs known as Sitewise metric, such as in this case, an hourly ratio of widget output and capacity. The next step in the asset modeling process is to define an asset model hierarchy, which is nothing but a parent-child hierarchical structure. In this case, metal bench press is the leaf node in the hierarchy, which is the child of metal press line. And then similarly, metal press line is the child of the parent model, which is site. Once asset models and asset model hierarchies are defined, you can then create actual instances of the assets from the asset model. An asset represents a device, a piece of equipment, or a process that uploads one or more data streams to cloud. In this case, an asset named site is created from its corresponding asset model called site. And similarly, line, press A, and press B, they're all assets which are created from their corresponding asset models as well. Once required assets are created, you can then update the source data path for the measurements for which data needs to be ingested. As shown here, the source data path for widget output for press A is line 1, press A, widget output. And then similarly, the source data path for press B is line 1, press B, widget output. The data ingested and modeled in AWS IoT SiteWise is stored in a scalable and time-optimized internal data store for low latency access, often known as hot data. The data store is fully managed, hosted, and auto-scalable with no prior capacity planning or provisioning required. Once data is stored in SiteWise, you can stream live data in near real time and query historical data to build downstream IoT applications using one of the 2 ways. Turn on SiteWise notification status for the required properties for downstream applications. SiteWise will then publish the data automatically in IoT Core for downstream consumption in a streaming way. The other option is use one of the 3 GET RESTful APIs to query historical value of measurements, transforms, and metrics from anywhere using the SDK. Sitewise Monitor is a no-code managed web application provided as part of SiteWise. With Sitewise Monitor, you can explore your library of assets and create and share operational dashboards with any number of plant operators for near real-time monitoring and visualization of the key operating conditions or KPIs. In Sitewise Monitor, project owners can set up operational dashboards in minutes via dragging and dropping the metrics that operators would like to monitor in near real time using a variety of widget types like line charts, bar charts, scatter charts, status charts, and KPI widgets, and also augment them with trend lines or color changes when a threshold is breached. Only thing these plant operators need is an URL with credentials to access the shared dashboard. Let's take a quick look at a real customer story who is using a Sitewise based solution to improve their paint quality. Genie, a Terex brand, is a global manufacturer of lifting and material handling products and services, delivering lifecycle solutions that maximize return on investment for their customers. Genie needed to improve the quality and reliability perception of their brand of lifting equipment by eliminating the problem of chipped, missing, and peeling paint, which is leading to increasing warranty claims from their customers. Genie deployed a secure, scalable, and repeatable paint process monitoring solution to ingest, organize, and analyze data from the paint process in near real time to identify inconsistent and improper pretreatment, hence enabling the ability to take necessary corrective actions to improve the paint quality of the manufactured lifts. With this solution, Genie also started their digital transformation journey by connecting one plant to AWS within 8 weeks, with a progressive plan to connect all their 7 plants globally. This is Genie's end-to-end solution architecture. As you can see, paint pretreatment process data from all the stages are ingested into Sitewise over the OPC UA protocol. This uses the Sitewise connector software running on the Edge gateway, which is also running AWS IoT Greengrass. In addition to the paint pretreatment process data, paint operators are able to enter manually collected data from process and instrumentation checks. This includes results from chemical testing process time to time that were also ingested into Sitewise using its batch put asset property value API in an event-driven way. Ingested data was organized using a rich asset modeling framework to create virtual representation of the equipment and key processes from the paint pretreatment process. Using AWS IoT SiteWise asset modeling capability, Genie was able to set up the virtual representations of their equipment and key processes from the paint pretreatment process stages. The model data from the pretreatment process is stored in a scalable and managed time series optimized data store within Sitewise, often known as hot operational data store. As the data becomes warm or cold, Sitewise is configured to send the data to Amazon S3, which is also known as Data Lake on AWS, to build the 10 years of history for downstream analytics, which was a requirement from Genie. Once the data is in the data lake, data engineers are able to query the data using Athena SQL, and data scientists are able to run machine learning on the same data using Amazon SageMaker. Finally, data engineers and business analysts are able to run business intelligence reporting and self-serve analysis using Amazon QuickSight. With that said, we have also learned that our partners are playing a huge role in helping our industrial IoT customers with their Industry 4.0 digital innovation journey. Let me now hand over to Ravi for the Smart Insights deep dive.
Thank you, Asim. Hi, folks. My name is Ravi Raghunathan, CEO of Tensor IoT. A quick intro about Tensor IoT. We're an advanced consulting partner and a solution provider for AWS, focusing on IoT, machine learning, and data technologies. We are headquartered in Southern California and have offices across the US, in UK, and India. Today, we're going to talk about one such solution that we have called Smart Insights. So what is Smart Insights? In short, Smart Insights is a solution built to turn your data from a factory or shop floor to actionable insights and outcomes. We generally see customers achieving measurable business outcomes like asset utilization, product quality, and operational efficiency. It is built from the ground up using native AWS services, including IoT SiteWise, and the entire solution is lightweight, extendable, and securely connects to your existing assets with no special necessary training. Right? As you can imagine, the solution comes with both hardware and software. The hardware is meant to be deployed on site to connect to your industrial equipment and OPC UA servers. And there is software that is deployed both on the on-site hardware and is also in the cloud. The hardware is optional though, and we can use the customer's on-site gateway if they already have one, or they can get the hardware from us. The solution also comes with a UI that is customizable with pre-built dashboards for both real-time data monitoring and to view the KPIs. One thing to highlight here, traditional industrial IoT software's implementation takes months to implement. However, what we are seeing is that with Smart Insights, we can actually get the data to the cloud in a matter of days and customer can view their outcomes within weeks. So that's another thing to note about the solution. So let's look at the architecture. So here we're going to do a deep dive on the architecture for Smart Insights. As you can see, there are two portions of the architecture. The left side portion will be deployed at the customer on-prem location, and the right side will be deployed in the cloud. On the on-prem side of things, there is a gateway that comes with AWS services like Greengrass and IoT SiteWise connector. It also comes with a Smart Insights user interface so that you can view data in the edge, and also comes with some drivers and other pieces of software that is required to connect to your industry equipment and OPC servers. On the cloud side, the solution leverages plethora of AWS services, including IoT Core, Sitewise, IoT Events, and other related managed services. The whole architecture is built on serverless paradigm and leverages all the managed services that ensures it can scale easily with the scale of the deployment. So you don't have to worry about the scale. You let AWS handle the scale, and you just scale your deployments, if you will. The solution also comes fully integrated with, it comes with a UI that is fully integrated and customizable user interface in the cloud that allows customers to model asset, visualize data real time, visualize KPIs and outcomes that are calculated. The solution, as I said, comes with pre-built ops dashboards for asset monitoring, etc. You can also see there is an industrial data lake that comes with the solution that can be used to host all of your industrial IoT data. On top of that, it can also be used to host other data that is, the related data coming from ERP systems and other external sources, if you will. Some differences to highlight between what you saw in the ASIMS architecture and what you're seeing in Smart Insights is that it comes pre-built with machine learning models that can be deployed on the cloud or also be pushed to the edge so that you can get inferences at the edge. The other difference that to highlight as well is that, as you can imagine, any product that is ready to scale across multiple factories needs a fleet management component. So Smart Insights comes with pre-built fleet management capability to help you, from the UI in the cloud, help you onboard new gateways, manage and monitor the gateways, and also do OTA updates or any sort of updates that are needed for the gateway. This is to ensure that as a customer, you have a complete solution that you can use to, deploy a fleet and manage it across your entire factory, entire industry, right? So let's look at a demo of how the Smart Insights looks, right? So when you log into Smart Insights, you're greeted with a dashboard that has both the sites, number of gateways, and number of assets you are monitoring. And what you can do now is you can drill down onto the sites, and you can say, I've created a site for reInvent demo. So you can click at the site and see how many assets you're monitoring. And when you click on the site, it actually takes you into the next screen where it gives you a site layout. And all of this is configurable, where you can change the way your layout looks. And it also has all of the assets that the site has and all of that good stuff. You can now edit the asset. Let's say I want to move this asset to a different location. You can edit the asset and place it in another place and save it. And that essentially is the way where you can now place all of those assets, and it'll give you data in real time from those in the map itself. The other view of this is you can now view all of the KPIs that are coming out of the site. Like, as you can see in this graph, what you can see is you're seeing plant efficiency, product quality, what is the processing speed looks like, how many issues are there in product quality. All of the good stuff is visible right in this particular UI, right? And this graph is customizable as well. This page is customizable, where if you want to look at other KPIs, you can edit and swap out graphs or add graphs and so on and so forth, right? And you can also see output shipments, what the shipment looked like. Now, this is not static. You can actually drill down. Let's say there is a product quality issue fairly high, at this particular time range. So now let's look at what does look like. So you can actually drill down, and if you see, when I drill down, you actually see the plant efficiency going down, the product quality went down. You're also seeing that there is no processing happened for a given time frame. So all of that becomes, you can slice and dice data and take a look at it, right? So that's a way for you to look at all of the KPIs that is coming out of a single site, if you will, holistically. So on top of this, you can actually look at a single asset itself. So you can come back to this screen and go and click on a specific asset that you want to look the real-time data and see what's going on. So when I click on that asset, you're actually greeted with an asset screen where you're seeing all of the sensory measurements that the asset outputting. You can select one, select all of them, and see graph right away. Right now, I've selected both these measurements, and I see that that there's graphs, and you can see the type of graph, whether it's line, area, or bar chart. The other thing to note as well is anomalies. Like as I mentioned, anomalies are pre-integrated into this graph, where you can see that those red dot indicate an anomaly. You also have a 3D asset view in this place, where you can actually see what the asset. You can see the measurements for that are being outputted by the asset in the same view, right? On top of this, as I mentioned in my prior slide, architecture slide, you also have a way to upload and review the asset models that are generated by this application. So you can come here, and on the left hand side, if you click on asset model, this shows all of the asset models that you have. Asset models are nothing but similar to Sitewise lingo. Asset models are essentially a virtual representation of assets that all of the attributes the asset has, all of the calculations, and all of the measurements that the asset has. So this allows you to upload new models, review the models that you've already uploaded, and these models are now available across the fleet for you to take a look at. Another thing that customers have asked for is this data analysis tab, right? You saw a single site based view, but the customer really wanted, hey, we want to see all of our data and do the slicing and dicing ourselves. So we sort of created this open plane of visualization where the customers can add charts, remove charts, and slice and dice data across their fleet to see how their data is doing. They can filter across any data point that they have. So this really gives them a way for them to look at all of the data and look at what's interesting to them, right? And this we call as the OT side of the view, right? Which is what's coming from the factory floor, looking at the data and look. There's also an IT side of view, as you can see on the left hand side. That's nothing but managing the fleet of gateways that you're deploying in order to be able to monitor your solution, right? For example, here I have 4 gateways deployed. If we click on one of the gateways, you're now looking at a gateway based screen, where this the IT folks are going to be really interested in looking at this, where how is my gateway doing, is it connected, what's the memory CPU consumption look like, what are all the errors that are coming from the log. All of that is visible in a single place, where you can now manage all of that from the cloud UI, right? And right from this page, you can actually also look at the list of OPC server this gateway is connected to, and you can add a new OP server from right here, right? Again, all of this is happening from a cloud UI. So nothing has to be done at the edge or at the gateway. You click on add a new server, and actually a wizard takes you through that process, right? And that's a way where you can actually add an OPC server as well. There's also another capability called adding a site, right? This is actually the first thing that you have to do, which is when you're deploying it into a new site, you come here and say, hey, I want to add a new factory or a site. When you add the new factory or a site, you actually can upload the picture, you can upload all where the asset goes. All of that initial setup is done through this UI. So as you saw, that's a quick demo of Smart Insights. Essentially, there's a lot more to it, but given the time, we wanted to show you the best parts of the application. So you've seen the architecture, you've seen the outcomes, you've seen a demo. So how do people get Smart Insights? What does the implementation look like? In typical AWS faction, we see the same thing: crawl, walk, run. What we are seeing is that customers can connect and connect a single line and get the data to the cloud in a matter of weeks. Like as a matter of 4 weeks, we are saying single line can be connected and outcomes achieved for the customer, right? And we've seen 8 weeks it takes 8 weeks for the whole site adoption, right? If you just have one line in your site, then that's fine. 4 weeks, you're off to the races. But normally 8 weeks for the whole site, and it's 12 plus weeks beyond. It's just scale. If you want to do multi-sites, if you're right on where we get how we deploy Smart Insights. Okay, once you deploy Smart Insights, what typical benefits do you realize, right? One is product quality. To keep in line with the conversation that we are having today, is that product quality is achieved through measurements and getting insights into what's going on in your line. So that's one. Operational efficiency, again, because you're monitoring everything, you have alerts built in for issues that are happening in your line. Operational efficiency is another thing that you can gain. Process optimization, you can, now that you have view over all of your assets, all of your lines across multiple sites, you can now start to do process optimization, right? And the lastly, anomaly detection, where this is another thing that comes, as I said, pre-built. Because ML is pre-built, you get all of this with the data that you already are bringing to the cloud, and that can be a very valuable tool to spot issues where the normal users doesn't see. The system can help identify, and so that you can rectify it faster. So these are typical benefits that we see. I'm sure there are many more that, for customers like yourself will get out of it, but these are what we see on the normal, day-to-day implementation. With that said, over to you, Asim. I'm going to hand it back to Asim for a wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Let's wrap it up with a quick recap of what we discussed today. We started with the common challenges we hear from our customers in the manufacturing space. We then talked about a customer story using an AWS IoT SiteWise based solution to improve paint quality. Finally, we also dove deeper into the Smart Insights product from Tensor IoT with Ravi. Let me summarize what's changed in AWS IoT SiteWise in 2020. Security is job zero for AWS and for our customers in the IT/OT world. You can now use a customer-managed encryption key as well as private link support for data plane APIs for SiteWise. On the data ingestion side, in addition to OPC UA and MQTT protocol support, SiteWise now supports Modbus TCP and Ethernet IP protocols out of the box. SiteWise Connector now supports compression and filtering at the edge with dead banding and configurable scan rate. SiteWise Gateway now supports late data ingestion up to 7 days. This has been a critical ask from our customers with low bandwidth connectivity. We also announced public preview of SiteWise Edge for our customers. We have the same SiteWise experience at the edge, especially under disconnected scenarios, to continue production without disruption. On the visualization side, Sitewise Monitor now supports a set of new chart types such as tabular, status line, scatter plots, to name a few. Our customers also wanted an AWS IoT SiteWise plugin for Grafana, which is now live supporting SiteWise as a data store. These are few references to learn more, such as if you want to get started, there is a 3-part blog post which takes you through a step-by-step journey to try it out. Refer to the AWS for Industrial, which was announced in December 2020. Thank you for your time.